Hey guys, and welcome back to another flashlight review. Today we are going to be looking at the RovyVon E1. This is a keychain flashlight that I've been using for a number of weeks now, and I have to say this is the brightest keychain light that I actually own, and I was pretty shocked at how much light this little thing produced when I turned it on. And it's also the only light I have in my collection. I've got tons of lights, probably about 100 or more, that actually gives me the option to add a primary backup cell. Okay, so there's actually a AAA cell hidden in there that I've taken out of my cupboard and added in there. So I'll show you how that works in a moment, but I think this is a huge game changer, as it just means I can swap batteries on the go, extended runtime in an emergency, and it weighs only 39 grams. So pretty much the same size, similar weight as a garage remote or car remote control. So this here is the box that it comes in. It's really basic. All you get is a instruction manual here. You also get some spare parts. So I've actually attached the keychain, this little ring to the back of the light already. And it also comes with this little clip that I've attached. It clips onto 3 different spots. I've just clipped it right in the center. But you do get another ring that's a little bit thicker, if that's what you prefer. And you also get one of these replacement rubber gaskets. So as you can see here, it's got a USB-C charging port. So, you know, if this thing gets lost or whatever, which I don't think is going to happen really, this thing is just pretty solid and flush with the actual case itself. But if you do, you have a spare one. And you also get this instruction manual here. Okay, it took me a little while to get my head around the instructions, but once you understand it, it's pretty simple. So here's the E1 next to a couple of other keychain flashlights that I own, and this is the standard profile that you get them in. And what I really like about the E1 is that they employ this slab design that you see with some other larger flashlights these days, namely from Wuben. You also get ones from Olight and also from a couple other companies as well. But this design is really good because it allows you to basically add in 2 different batteries. So there could be 2 lithium batteries, but in this case, you know, you've got the primary AAA and then the lithium cell here on the left. Whereas with these smaller keychain lights, they almost never, I don't think I've ever seen one that actually has a replaceable battery. And as you can see, pretty small battery in there. So once it runs out, that's it. You're out of juice, and the light is pretty much useless. But I really like the size of this light. It's also quite easy to pocket, okay? If you look at it from the side profile as well, it's even thinner than these like cylindrical keychain lights. So even though the overall volume is larger, when you put it in your pocket, it just feels a lot more comfortable, especially when you have larger lights of this size. But I really can't tell the difference whether I have this one or that one in my pocket. Just nice and sort of form-fitting. So just a little close-up of the light. You can see here, aluminium head, anodized aluminium head, and the body is made of polyamide. And I think this is significant because just that small detail, polyamide is actually one of the most durable materials you can find. I know Kevlar is a type of polyamide. And I really like how the light just balances perfectly, especially once you add in a primary cell. Without that primary cell, it's feels a little bit heavy. Another thing as well is I noticed after some time of using it, and it was just by coincidence, but turning off the light, that there's actually a glow in the dark ring on the base of the head. So just around here, running all around the latch as well. Okay. And I think this is important because if you are potentially in the dark and you need to change that primary cell in there quickly, you're going to easily be able to locate the latch position and the general position of the head as well. You can see over here on the side, there are a couple of little lights, little auxiliary lights, and they indicate which battery is in use. Also turns red to indicate low voltage. I suspect this cell included here, the lithium polymer cell, is a 10440 cell. Okay, there are a bunch of screws here that you can undo on the side. Where's the other one? I think there's one underneath here on the back, underneath the clip. But I reckon if I got in there, I'm expecting to see one of those 10440 cells, which potentially is replaceable as well and is the same size as a AAA cell. The light's IPX7 water resistant, 1.5 meter impact resistant as well. Plus you get a 2-year warranty, which is pretty rare to see on these keychain flashlights. A lot of these keychain lights that I see out there are almost like those disposable type lights. Manufacturers don't make them to last, but RovyVon have pretty much almost pioneered this industry of keychain flashlights, making them a lot more durable and a long-term realistic option for EDC. A little view underneath the head of the flashlight, and there's a dual TIR lens set up in there. Okay, 2 times 6500K LEDs. You can also get them in a warmer option. I'm not sure what LEDs these are. They produce a total of 700 lumens though. Perhaps they're SST40s, perhaps they're SST20s, Osram P9s, maybe in-house LEDs. But they do produce a lot of light considering the size of the overall package. And the light is definitely much brighter on high when you're using the included lithium polymer cell. Would it be nice if the TIR lens also was just recessed in the head very slightly in order to protect it? Made of plastic, which is pretty standard for TIR lenses. So I'm going to show you how the light works, just a quick introduction. And basically, the light comes locked when you first get it. And you see here, you press any sort of button that flashes that auxiliary LED 3 times. Okay, so to unlock it, essentially you just triple click 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then what it does is that it will then flash and indicate that it's on. So there's a green flash on the AAA section. Okay, all right. So basically, turn on and off just by clicking that button. Now this basically just activates moonlight mode. Okay, so I like this feature because especially for these smaller EDC lights, I don't want it to start in a mode that is way too high. Normally, if I'm picking it up at night or in the car or something like that, I'm going to be using it at close range. So it's good they're thinking about the user experience here. Okay, now once you've got the light on moonlight mode, you can double press and it goes into memory mode. Okay, memory mode is basically the mode that is here. So you basically continually click, cycle through. Okay, so if I'm on this highest mode here, okay, press and hold to turn off. Okay, switch the light on again, double press, it remembers that last mode, which is that highest mode, and you have to click and hold to switch off the light. But yeah, basically once the light is on, double click and then you just have to click and click to cycle through the different modes. Now this bottom button, you might be wondering what this is for. You press and hold the bottom button, you get access to momentary high. Now this is super cool because basically this almost functions as a keychain tactical light. It's got a momentary mode on there. Okay. Now if you want to access strobe, double press that bottom button. So it's really cool because this potentially has almost a self-defense feature. By being able to access that highest mode and blind someone, or just be able to use that highest mode in an emergency, I think is really important. You do see most of these keychain lights, if you're lucky, they only just have one button and they have too many functions in that single button and it gets quite confusing. So it's good that they've separated out those two parts of the interface in there. So you might be wondering, how do you switch between the two cells? Basically click once, triple press the top button, and you can see that LED now lights up under AAA, indicating that it is now using the primary cell. Okay, and it's not as bright on the primary cell. Okay, now if we turn it off, turn it back on again, triple click, goes back to the lithium polymer. Okay, so when you turn it back on, There we have it. Okay. Now this little latch here, basically just gonna get your fingernail underneath that latch. It's quite easy really, just pull it out like that. Rotate the head. And that's all that it basically can rotate. Can't rotate any further. That's why I think that there's a secondary cell around the same size, that 10440 cell, potentially in there. But basically, that's the cell that I put in here. I put in one of my Eneloops, AAA Eneloop, 900 milliamp hour cell in there, which is pretty significant. I mean, this allows the light to run for, I don't know, maybe even a day, a few days on the lowest mode, which I think is so important in an emergency situation. And if you have other cells with you, the cool thing is that you can actually swap them on the go. So you can turn on the light and it's powered by the lithium polymer, okay? But then you can also just on the go just swap out this battery as well while the light is actually powered on. So basically you just got to push it back in place. I have to press down on the battery a little bit, just get that nib top part a little bit below. Okay, there we have it. It's on. Just lock it. And very simple. Let's switch back to that primary cell. Okay, but I can switch it back to the lithium polymer again, as you can see. Okay, so pretty simple. So I ran a bunch of ceiling bounce tests on the RovyVon E1. You can see here I've used the high mode, which is the highest setting, and light starts off at 100% and eventually drops to just around 30% of output after the 3-minute mark. So you do see basically about for 1 minute, the light does last between about 90 to 100% of its overall output. So you do get some sustained output, that's 700 lumens for about a minute. That's good to know because you do see a lot of these keychain flashlights, they just step down immediately and there's a linear curve or just a drastic drop downwards. So I think this is important, especially on that momentary tactical style mode when you're pressing and holding that momentary button. If you're using that in an emergency, you don't want it to step down immediately. You want it to be pretty blinding and bright for a significant period of time. So the E1 does deliver in that regard. And another ceiling bounce test here on the medium mode, and you can see it starts off at 100% and slowly steps down to about 40 something percent, maybe 45% of its output just after the 17-minute mark. Interesting thing here is that the light then increases its output. So about 19 minutes into the test, it is about 70, just above 70%, 75% of output. So yeah, basically steps down from 100 all the way to 75%. I think that's still pretty impressive for a medium mode. On the low mode, I didn't notice any stepping down at all. The beam profile of the RovyVon E1 is quite interesting. It's got these double TIR lenses in there, and the beam is surprisingly throwy. You get a high concentration of light in the center of the beam, and you do get a lot of usable spill, especially on the higher modes. But on the lower modes, you don't get all that much spill. Light is mainly concentrated in the center of the beam, and it's more useful on those lower modes if you're reading up close or you're searching for something in a small space. It's not going to be the best for large, floody kind of areas unless you're using those higher modes. Some considerations you might want to be aware of before you buy this light. There's no additional lighting modes. So what I mean by that is that you've only got these two white LEDs. There's no auxiliary red LEDs. And I really like those warmer / red LEDs to use at night. It's just easier in the eyes. And they also have additional functions as well. You know, they help keep away bugs and make sure you don't scare away animals and things like that. Another thing is that you've got this non-metal body. So made of polyamide, very durable. I'm glad that the head is at least made of aluminium. Otherwise, this would be very difficult in terms of dissipating heat. And obviously with a metal body, you know, probably be better at dissipating heat. But at the same time, it could also get potentially uncomfortably hot to hold. Good news is that there is also a titanium version of the E1 as well. Now, a slight annoyance I found with this light, now the buttons get jammed if you press them on the edges. So if I sort of put a fingernail in and just press that button into the side, can you see there? It's sort of stuck. And that should really be in momentary mode. Okay. Now, I've only noticed this happen to me a couple of times, but normally when you press onto the button, you know, you're just pressing it with your thumb or your finger or something like that. It's very unlikely that you're going to hit the sides, but it is a little bit annoying, and you just have to essentially just press the button again and it becomes unstuck. Overall, I'm really impressed with the RovyVon E1. This is my second RovyVon light, and just blown away with the attention to detail that they put into their products. Keychain lights normally don't have this many features and this level of quality and production quality that you see. They're usually just cheap little products that you keep on you just in case, and they break or you throw them away in a year or so. But having used the RovyVon E1 for a few weeks now, I have to say, really does an outstanding job as a standalone EDC light, especially if you're happy with that respectable 700 lumen output, and the ability to actually replace the AAA cell in there as well makes this a really good long-term option, especially if that lithium polymer doesn't work after a while. And if you're using this on the go as well as an emergency light, it's something that you can certainly rely on. So if you're interested, I've left a link in the description. You can get a discount from the RovyVon link there. And if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments. I'll get back to you. If you also found the video helpful, do me a favor and click the like button, because it helps me to get the video out to more people. It doesn't cost you a cent. And yeah, if you want to keep up with the most up-to-date flashlight reviews, make sure you subscribe. All right, RovyVon E1 on turbo. Really, I mean, that is just so impressive for such a little light. See all the way into the back of those trees. Just tinting those trees out the back. Can't really see it on camera, barely tinting them, but easily reaching that field in the center. It's on the highest mode, turbo mode. I'm just holding down that momentary turbo. Lots of bugs out tonight, driving me nuts. They're attracted to the light. Okay, and what I'll do, I'll just go on to some of the other modes as well. So that's the low mode. Can't really see it. A little bit up in the front maybe. Medium. Medium is just bright enough to reach some of these trees to the left and the field. Kind of these little shrubs in the foreground there, but not into the field. Okay. I think that's a really good sort of sustainable mode though. Okay. That's the high mode. Brightest mode. Very impressive. Okay, low, medium, and high. Like how there's just such a large hot spot in the center. And lots of spill. But you're going to need to step that up, really use the medium and the high mode to get that spill with these TIR reflectors. RovyVon E1, short range, go for a walk.